Everyone, it's 2:40 p.m. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, and I hope everything from here on out will be smooth sailing. So can I just get very quickly, can everyone hear me crystal clear? Just answer in the chat. Remember, if you have any questions, please, you can also ask them in the chat box, so you can unmute your mic and you can ask me, okay? Right, thank you very much. Okay, so where I stopped earlier was talking about how you can start a new project on Overleaf, okay? And you can download the LaTeX template, for example, from Springer, and you can just immediately upload it onto Overleaf. So this is how you do it. So let's say you have downloaded your zip file over here, okay? All you have to do is to create a new project. You can click on Upload Project. You just have to drag in your zip file, and once it finishes its upload, it will automatically lead you to the Overleaf GUI. Okay, so here you will see the overall GUI, and I'm going to describe it very quickly. On the left hand side, you will see all of the files that are currently part of this project. You can upload new files by clicking on this button over here. I will show you later. We are going to upload maybe new figures. We want to replace our bibliography file and so on. Okay. And at the bottom over here, you will see the outline of your current project. Okay. In fact, every time you create a new section, the section will be over here and including all of these subsections. So if you click on this, you can easily navigate through your entire LaTeX file. On the left-hand side, this window over here, so you can actually expand this window by clicking on this button over here. So these are the two main windows that you will interact with using Overleaf. On the left side is the text editor. Over here, okay, for example, if you click on any other file, you can actually view what is inside of the file. But what we want to edit over here is the .text file. And this is the main LaTeX file where you will work on. So on the left-hand side is the text editor, and on the right-hand side is the live PDF that has been compiled. Okay, so it's very easy. Whenever you want to recompile or anytime you make a new change in your LaTeX file, you just have to click on recompile, and it will show you immediately how the article or your thesis is going to look. Okay, so before I go into too much detail here, I want to highlight several other functionalities that are very interesting to me about Overleaf. First, we have the review button over here. If you click on this, this is actually going to be a list of comments that you can add yourself, or if you're collaborating with others, they can leave their comments. So for example, I want to highlight this, okay, and I click on add comment. I can type whatever I want, okay, and next time when you come back, you can look at all the comments that somebody has left on your document. You can reply, you can resolve. So this is a very good collaborative tool, okay. So let me resolve that really quickly. And over here, this button is where you can invite more collaborators for your LaTeX project. So remember, this is a cloud-based compiler, so more than one person can actually work on that LaTeX file at the same time. So I think in a previous Journal Club session, I actually showed you how many people can log in at the same time, okay? But for now, if you're using a new account, I believe you are limited to only one collaborator, okay? You also have a chat box here to chat with whoever is online and editing the file at the same time, but this is not something I usually use. On the top here, you can name your project. So let's just say this is the LaTeX template. Okay, you can rename your project, and this name is going to be part of the list of projects in front when you go to your main Overleaf page. You can see the name has been changed to LaTeX template. Okay, so enough about the GUI. Let us jump right into the format, okay, on the general structure of a LaTeX file, okay. At the top, you will always see this document class, okay. So the thing is, when you download a new template, usually you do not need to touch this, okay, because the journal has already selected for you which format they want you to submit in, okay. So this format over here that I'm showing here is actually the IEEE format for the IEEE Access Journal, for the IEEE Transactions Journal. So it is using the class file known as IEEE Trend, okay, IEEE Transaction. So if you are using, for example, an Elsevier template, or you are using, for example, a Taylor and Francis template, you might see a different class file being used here, okay? So for now, this is the IEEE template. And when you go down, you will see a bunch of use package, okay? So use package here, I want you to take it analogous to a programming language, is the libraries that you import. So for example, if you're using C++, you would import the libraries like math, SCD library, and so on. So every package that you import over here has a different purpose or different functionality. So in the future, if you want to create your own document, you can actually just copy this bunch of packages over here, because whatever is here are the ones that are commonly used. And then you can just proceed to edit your document. But okay, somebody has asked if the view that I have is not the same. Maybe you can expand on what is the difference between your view and mine. Okay, maybe you only see the text editor, and then that means that you have to click on this to split the screen. Or sometimes you only see the PDF, so you have to click on this button over here, split screen, okay, to look at both sides, okay. So the packages, as I mentioned, the packages, you have to always have different packages for the functionalities that you need, okay, but these are the common ones. In fact, if you create a new one, you can just copy and you can paste, all right. Right, so now you have the begin document. This is standard, you don't touch this. And whenever you edit a template, you want to try and find the title, okay? And over here is where you can edit the title to be anything you want. For example, let's say, hello, this is a new paper. And just a tip, okay, if anyone is trying to change the title, if you click Control S, this is a shortcut to compile, okay? So after you try Control S, you will recompile. Hold on, it's a server error. Hi, everyone else, can you still hear me? Muhammad, is the problem that you are having, is it solved? Hello? Okay, I will just proceed. So you can see now the new title has been updated, okay? And usually you want to try to find the list of authors as well, okay? All right, somebody says the voice consistently chops off. Okay, please, if anyone missed anything, please let me know in the chat box, okay? I'm not sure what's wrong with my internet at home today, okay? So as I mentioned, the things that you have to edit in the what we call the preamble, okay? All these parts over here, document class, the packages, the begin document, the title, the author, the make title, all of this is called the preamble, okay? So this is not yet the part that you really want to edit. So you're going to find the places to edit your title, okay? You can change your title, you can change the list of authors. So over here, it might look a little bit confusing, but every journal will have a different way to write the authors. So this is the IEEE one, okay, the IEEE format, okay. So all you need to do is to look at the commands carefully and edit them based on what you need. So if you look at the template that I have given you, you can see that over here is where you should add somebody's name, okay. So let's say I put my name as Bob. Okay, let's see, Bob. Okay, Bob. Right, and over here, the ref mark. Okay, ref mark here actually refers to the affiliations. Okay, so this is the first affiliation. Okay, this second author is from the second affiliation. Okay, and then where you edit your affiliations is down here. First affiliation is School of Computer Sciences. Second affiliation is some other university. Okay, and here you can write your corresponding author, who is the corresponding author of your paper. So maybe I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. You can try to edit the title of your paper, change the author name to your name, okay, and maybe add a second author name, and maybe add a second affiliation. Okay, what if we need to add multiple affiliations? Okay, so right over here, we can see 2 affiliations, okay? So let's say I have Bob, and he's from School of Computer Sciences. Let's say I have Brad, and he is from the maybe he's from, let's say, some university, something like that. Something's wrong with this. Something like that, okay? So you can see that the name has been changed. So if you want to add a third author, okay, a third affiliation, all you need to do is to copy, paste another one. You can name it number 3. Okay, you name it number 3. Okay, somebody asked the tilde. The tilde is just a space. Okay, the tilde is just a space. Let's call this University La Malaysia. Okay, so now you have 3 affiliations. Okay, but you only have 2 authors. So let's add another author here. Okay, let's add another author here. Let's add somebody else, comma, Eve, and IEEE author mark. Okay, 3. Okay, so you can see, sorry, here we have Bob in affiliation 1. Okay, the star is School of Computer Sciences. We have Brad, which is affiliation 2, okay, which is University Technical Malaysia, and we have Eve, which is affiliation 3, okay, which is University blah Malaysia. Okay, so this is how you edit the. Oh, okay. If Bob has to represent, okay, so this is how you edit the authors. Okay, if Bob is to represent 2 universities, all you need to do is you can, I believe, okay, so it's not, I believe you just have to copy this, and you just have to add another ref mark here. Okay, and you can have 2 affiliations. What's wrong with the? Yeah. Okay, so in this way, you can have 2 affiliations for Bob. Okay, and you can have as many affiliations as you want. Okay, so sometimes the way they arrange the authors might look different, but basically it's around the same. Okay, so now we move on to the abstract. So some journals, some templates will have the abstract wrapped around a begin and end. Sometimes it's just a section called abstract, but whatever it is, you just follow whatever is given to you. Okay, so if this is the case, all you need to do is just edit the abstract within these 2 these two commands. Okay, so you can add your own abstract. Here is my own abstract. Then when you click on Control S, you compile it, you will see it reflected on your right hand side. Okay, so it's immediate. You can see how your paper looks like immediately. Okay, and now let's move on to the keywords. So again, sometimes different journals have different ways to write keywords. Sometimes it's within the abstract, sometimes it's outside the abstract. So the beauty of it is you just download the template from the journal, you just follow whatever it is. Okay, but my advice for choosing keywords, okay, this is nothing to do with Overleaf, but always try to choose keywords that are relevant to your field, generic keywords, because these keywords will help people find your articles and hopefully increase your citation count. Okay, so let me just add some keywords here. And please note that different journals might have different requirements. Sometimes it's just a comma, sometimes it's a semicolon, sometimes they even have like they put some command in between. Okay, like for example, bullet, add a dot in between. Okay, so whatever is given to you, just follow it. Okay, and usually don't touch all of these additional commands here. This is all to do with the IEEE format. Okay, so now we are done with the preamble. Okay, the preamble, we have done the title, we have done the whatever packages. So later on, when you're writing your document, you might add new packages on the fly. Okay, you have done your authors, your affiliations, your abstract, and your footnote for indicating the co-author. Now let's move on to the main gist of your LaTeX template, which are all of these sections. Okay, so if you are from a computer science background, getting familiar with the commands used will not be too difficult. But even if you are not from the computer science background, you can see that the ones that start with the slash and name, these are all the commands. Okay, and usually after the command, there are circular or cursive brackets. Okay, and this is, for example, the name of your section. Okay, so it's very simple. If you want to create a new section, you just have to put /section, whatever the section name is. Okay, if you want a subsection, you just put /subsection and the subsection name. And you have subsection, and in some cases, subsection. Okay, so section creation is very simple, and you don't have to bother about where the section is popped up. So for example, if I wanted to add a new section here, okay, and you can see that LaTeX Overleaf has suggestions which will help you to write your articles faster. So for example, you can type /section, you can see all the different commands here. You just have to pick section, you type here, this is a new section, okay, and this is the content of the new section, okay, for example. So when you compile it, you click Control S, it will be reflected on the right hand side. The new section has been created. Okay, I will give you some time to do this a little bit later on because this part is quite simple. I want to show you something very important over here. So please note that every section, every subsection, every subsection, tables and figures, you can add a label. So what is this label? This label allows you to reference that particular section, table, or figure, and it will automatically assign a number based on where this section or table is. Okay, so for example, this section, this is a new section, is section 1. Okay, so let me just give it a label. Okay, you can name the label whatever you want. Okay, but as a best practice, I always start, if it's a section, I put sec. If it's a figure, I put fig. Okay, and then I can give it whatever name I want. So let's just call this new section. Okay, we can even write something like NS. Okay, so when you want to reference this section, what by reference is that, okay, let's say you're writing the article and say this information has been covered in section 1. Okay, so let's just call this section the intro. Okay, so now you want to say that the information has been covered in the introduction section, which is section 1. Okay, so instead of writing this information is covered in section 1 or section I, which is if you move this section somewhere else, the numbering will be wrong. So all you need to do is to type this /ref, which is reference, and you just have to put in the key here. So you put, for example, sec_ns, and if you compile, the section number will be created automatically. Okay, and in fact, it's a hyperlink. If you click on it, it will go to that particular section when you generate your PDF. Okay, so why is this powerful? Okay, let's say that I put this over here. Okay, let's say I put this over here. So you can see that this is, where is it? Okay, this information is covered in section 1. Okay, what happens if I move this section somewhere else? Okay, if I move it somewhere here. Okay, hello? Apart from Tivendran, can everyone else hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I think there's a problem, or maybe on your side, Devendran, for the internet connection. Okay. All right. So let's say that I move the intro somewhere else. You can see over here the section number has been changed automatically. So I encourage you to always create labels for every section and every figure, everything that you have created. Okay. So you will never have any problems when referencing. You can move your figure anywhere you want, and the number will always be correct. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's see. Okay, subsections, referencing the different subsections, and so on. Okay. So now I'm going to give you, 5 minutes. Okay. I want you to try this. I want you to create a new section, and I want you to reference that section in any other section that you want. Okay. So this is what you need to do. I want you to create your own section, name it whatever you want, create a label for your section. You can put whatever label name that you want, okay? And I want you to reference this section somewhere else. Let's say that please refer to section, remember, /ref. The label name is ASPK. I don't know how to write this. Do not. So when you do this, you will create a reference. Okay, so maybe there is a problem here. Create something. Okay. Yeah, okay. So it'll be over here. Okay, please refer to section 1. Okay, you can see here. And if the section actually doesn't exist, you will see a question mark. Okay, so this means this label does not exist anymore. Okay, so I'll give you about 5 minutes. Try to create sections. You can even try to create subsections or subsections. The idea here is that when you create your label, it's the same. You can just put whatever name you want. You can cite it, reference it anywhere, and it will always point to the correct section number. We will in 2 minutes time. In the meantime, please, if you're having any problems with creating the sections or labels, you can put it in the chat or turn on your microphone and ask a question. So I want to note over here as well, you can see this very strange command. The IEEE tar start. Okay, so this is very specific to the IEEE transactions and IEEE access format, where the first word needs to look like this. Okay, so most journals don't have anything like this. This is basically IEEE paragraph start. The very first word of an IEEE paper has to be formatted in this way. So you just follow whatever is requested. Okay, so I hope that everyone has tried creating the section, okay, creating a label for your section and referencing that label, okay. So just to show you one last time, I created a section called introduction. I give it a label called intro, okay, and then I can say, hello, I am referencing section. Okay, and then when you're successful, you will create the new sentence with the correct section number. All right, so let's move on to the next part. So we have just covered this. Let me zoom in. So this is actually the handout per se. The original one will be the handout. Okay, so we have covered how to create the different sections and subsections. Now let's move on to formatting text and equations. Okay, so good thing about using Overleaf is that a lot of the familiar commands are available. So for example, you can still use Control B for bold. You can use Control I for italic. So how do you use this? For example, if I have a sentence over here, hello, this is a new sentence. Okay, so please look in the text editor part. I created a new sentence. If I wanted to make this sentence bold, okay, all I have to do is to highlight it, Control B. It will automatically wrap it in this command, which is text bold font, okay. And if I further want to make it italic, I just have to highlight it again, and I type Control I. Okay, so when I compile it, I will have a sentence over here. Hello, this is a new sentence in both bold and italic. If I no longer want it to be bold, unfortunately, you have to delete the command. If you no longer want it to be italic, you can delete the command. Okay, so this is a little bit like a HTML slightly. Okay. Okay, Control Z will undo everything. Yeah, Control Z will undo everything. Yes, correct. But let's just say that you've already edited a lot of things and then you cannot undo it because you have done it a long time ago. Okay. All right. So that is some of the commands, okay, for bold and italic. Now, the part where it gets slightly complicated is the use of equations, okay? The use of equations in LaTeX is slightly different, but very powerful. In fact, it's the commands that you use for the LaTeX equation is very similar to the shortcut keys that you use, the commands you actually have to type into the Microsoft equation editor as well, okay? So you can include equations either in text, okay, as I mentioned here, in the text itself, or you want to create a brand new equation with an equation number, okay? So I'm going to teach you how to do both. Now let's look at the first in-text equation. And usually you use this if you want to describe a very maybe not so important equation that you just want to quickly show, or you want to show certain mathematical symbols. So you can use the in-text equations. So to use the in-text equations, you just have to wrap your equation with the dollar sign. Okay, as mentioned over here, you can insert in-text equations or mathematical symbols by wrapping them with the dollar sign. So let's take a look over here. Okay, let's say that I say that to calculate the sum of two numbers, all we need to do, okay, two numbers, let's say x and y, all we need to do is calculate x plus y. Okay. So if I were to compile this, the x, the y, and the x plus y are currently in non-mathematical format. You can see that the x here, the y, the x plus y are currently in non-mathematical format. So if I were to wrap x in the dollar sign, y in the dollar sign, x plus y in the dollar sign, they will automatically be converted into the mathematical formats. Okay. And right now, it doesn't seem very obvious how this is useful yet, because now it's just x and y. So let's change it to alpha slash beta, okay? And then we can put there gamma equals to slash alpha plus slash beta, okay? So when you compile this, now you have your mathematical symbols, okay? And okay, there are so many ways to format your equations. So for example, if I want to have fractions, okay, I can have fraction. Good thing about Overleaf again, if you type slash frac, you already have the format ready for you. You can just put here R over Z, okay? So if you compile, you will have R over Z, okay? And if you want a summation symbol, you can put it slash sum, okay? The summation symbol. So if you do not wrap all of these commands in the dollar sign, okay, you will actually get errors. Okay, you will get errors. But one thing about Overleaf is that although there is an error, the compiler or the Overleaf interface is smart enough to know that this is an equation and automatically add in the dollar sign. Okay, but if you were to take this document and you upload it into the journal submission system, the errors will occur. Okay, so over here, if you see this red indication over here, this means that you have an error. And in this case, you can see you must use the dollar sign for math mode. Okay, so you close the log, you can add the dollar sign for mathematics mode, and then the error will disappear. Orange just means a warning. Okay, warning is fine. So this is for in-text equation. So how about standalone equations with equation number? Okay, so this is a new command. Okay, I actually showed it over here. The command is using begin equation and end equation. Okay, and again, you can label it. You can give a label to it so that you can refer to this equation later along your article. So let me just give you a demonstration over here. I will type begin equation. Okay, and if you're using Overleaf, it will actually create for you automatically. Type whatever equation you want in here. Okay, maybe we have 5 equals to sum of, let's say, alpha plus beta, okay, some nonsensical equation. Okay, so after you created this, okay, please note that if you were to use the begin and end equation, the entire area between these two wrappers is already in mathematics mode. You no longer need to add a dollar sign, okay? And if, for example, you want to actually add a dollar sign, you have to use the backslash, okay? For any type of symbol that is an operator, which LaTeX operator, you can escape it by using the backslash, okay? So for example, you can see the dollar sign over here, okay? And now let us add the label for this equation. Let's label this as equation random addition, okay? You can give it any name you want. So let's say we want to say that somewhere along the line, please refer to equation ref, again, same thing, ref, okay, EQ summation. When you do this, it will automatically generate the number that corresponds to this equation. Okay. Oops. No, not summation. This is random addition. Random summation is the equation at the bottom. Okay. Yeah, equation 1. See? So when you click on it, it will actually direct you to this equation as well. Okay. So now I'll give you another few minutes to try, firstly, the in-text equations by wrapping it in the $sign. And secondly, the creation of a standalone equation which automatically has the equation number generated. So for example, if you actually have multiple equations, okay, yes, hold on. When you have multiple equations, you automatically generate. So you can put random addition 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can say, please refer to equations and okay, then you will automatically generate. Okay, here. Okay, inside here, I actually put a footnote. A good resource for mathematical symbols can be found on this link. So if you click on this link, it will actually direct you to this website. It's like a wiki with all of the LaTeX symbols and all the reserved words and commands and all the different mathematical symbols, everything in one place. Okay, so for example, if you want to find like all this for definitions, arrows, everything is over here. Okay, so the link is at the bottom. Okay, so I'll give you until 3:20 to try out some equations, try adding your labels, referring to the labels, and then we will continue to the next part, okay, in a bit. While we are waiting for everyone to try out the commands, again, please do not hesitate to ask any questions. So I want to mention that this begin equation and end equation is not so powerful, okay? It is good for simple equations, but if you have more complex ones that involves maybe piecewise functions, that involves multiple columns and so on, there are more powerful equation commands that you can use, such as there's another one called array, okay? Maybe while you are trying this, let me see if I have another project that uses more complicated equation. Okay, I am not able to find another equation. Okay, let me just show you very quickly. You can actually use something called begin array. Begin, not array, I can't remember. A line, yes, begin the line. Thank you. There's so many commands, sometimes I just cannot remember. Here we go. Equals. Yeah, okay. So this actually allows you to format equations in a different way. Okay, we will not cover here. Okay, but just to show you that apart from just begin and end equations, you have other forms. Okay, but for now, most cases using equation will be enough. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next part. So when you usually write your articles and then you send them in, you get your reviews, and when we are replying to the reviewers, some journals require you to include highlights. So I believe this is useful to share because some of you might not be familiar with how to use highlights in LaTeX. So to use highlights in LaTeX, okay, it's very simple. You need two packages here, which I've already included in the preamble. The first will be color, and the second one will be so. Okay. So I included in the preamble over here, color and so. Okay. So these two allows you to highlight sentences in your LaTeX document. Okay. So another tip, if you want to find out where your particular sentence is written, you can actually double click on the PDF. So for example, over here, when you double click on the PDF, it will redirect you to the particular place inside of your article. Okay. So when I double click here, it redirected me over here. So how do you highlight? It's very simple. You just have to wrap the entire sentence by using /HL. Okay. So I begin with /HL and a circular bracket, and it will highlight everything until I close the bracket. Okay. And this is a limitation that I found so far. I have not been able to overcome yet. If you have other commands, for example, if you have a cite command inside or you have a reference command inside, okay, you will need to avoid putting them into the highlight. If not, they will disappear. Let me show you. So over here, I have a citation, okay, citation 1. So if I were to include this inside of the highlight, okay, if I include this inside the highlight, it will actually cause an error, okay. So for example, you can see it totally disappeared, okay. So to avoid these errors, make sure you escape the highlight command and leave out all of the other types of commands like citing or referencing, okay. And everything else is okay. In fact, you can even have an equation in between and it will still be highlighted as normal, okay. But any type of command that has the slash will not be included into the highlight, okay. So this is a very simple one. I will not stop for you to try this one. Basically, you can just highlight and anything inside here will be highlighted, okay. Show you very quickly. So the command here is /HL and you must use color and so packages. Okay, now let us move on to an important part of any academic paper, any thesis, the figures. So how do you include a figure into your paper? And I also would like to recommend some best practices when creating figures for your paper. So many of you will probably create your figure using, for example, PowerPoint, and then you save as a PNG file. You might have saved it as a JPEG file. But one of the best ways to ensure that the figure you have inside your article is the highest resolution possible is to include it as a PDF. Okay, I'm going to show you that in a bit. But first, let us take a look at how you can include a figure in general. Okay, So over here, I've already created this sample. So when you want to include a figure in any other LaTeX template, any other LaTeX file, you can basically copy this and put it there, okay? And I believe that if you type begin figure, the Overleaf will automatically generate for you all of this, okay? So you can easily just create new figures using Overleaf. They have this down for you, okay? But basically, it starts with begin figure, it starts with end figure. The command here, centering, just make sure your figure is in the middle, okay? Include graphics. This is where you want to put in your figure name. So in this case, let's open up the file list on the left. We have a figure here called gfs-example.png. So if I wanted to include it in here, all I need to do is to put gfs example png. Again, Overleaf makes it easy. It actually suggests for you the file. So let's say I put in this one, okay? Okay, what is missing over here is the size of the image. So if you just put it like this, let's say this is my new image, figure new image, okay? If I do this, the new image, let's see how big it is. The new image will be just way too large, okay? You can see the new image is just too large. So we need to scale the image with respect to the text width, okay? Text width here refers to the width of the particular column. In this case, because it's a two-column document, if you use text width, it will just be the size of one of the columns. If it's a not a two-column, it's just a one whole normal article. If you use text width, then it's the entire span of the paper, okay? But right now, let's include the command to control the width of your image. So after include graphics, you just have to put a square brackets, and inside here, you write width equals to 0.2 text width, okay? And if you do that, it will scale your image to the ratio of 20% of the text width. Okay, let's see over here. Okay, here. In fact, the width in here, okay, I suggest you use text width, but you can also just put 1 centimeter and it will still work. Okay, if you 1 centimeter, it will literally be 1 centimeter width. You can even put maybe 2 millimeter, it will still work. Okay, so you can put 200 millimeters, it's 20 centimeters. Okay, this is how you control okay, this is going to be too big. Okay, how you control the size of your image. Okay, and this is too big. Okay, so I personally recommend using text width. Yes, okay. But by adding all of these additional commands, Zahid, I just personally don't use it because you have to delete additional things later on. So I just skip highlighting those citations. But thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, so if you those who want to know how to wrap the citations in the highlight, this is how you can do it, okay, using mbox. So now I would like to recommend using text width, so 0.3 text width. Okay. All right, so now let's take some time to create a new figure. And I don't want you to use to create a new figure using the existing PNG file. Okay, so what I want everyone to do here is to download a new image from anywhere, or maybe you already have an image somewhere in your computer. And I want you to upload it into Overleaf and then create the new figure. I'm going to demonstrate one time. Let's say I want to find block cipher, okay? And the image of a block cipher, let's take this one, let's save it, okay? Save it inside of the save it here, okay? So now I have the file over here, blockcipher.jpg. Okay, so now I want to upload it. I just click on the upload button over here. I just drag it in. Okay, now I have the blockcipher.jpg. So let me just change this to blockcipher.jpg. Okay, and then I would have created my new figure over here. Okay. So please note that if the figure is the resolution is not good, then when you zoom in, okay, you will see that it's blurred. Okay, I want to show you in a bit how this can be overcome. Okay, it's something that I suggest to the students I supervise to create the high definition images using PowerPoint. Okay, so for now, 5 minutes. Try to download an image, upload it to Overleaf, create your new figure, and then show it on the document. Okay, again, this label over here allows you to reference the figure anywhere in the text. So for example, please refer to figure reference pic new image. Okay. So you just have to use the whatever. This is called the key. Okay. You use the key and you can reference it anywhere in your paper. Okay. So again, best practice, if you just click on this arrow over here, you will go to the location in the PDF of where you're currently typing. Okay, so over here, it will be over here. Okay, if you do this, it will be over here. Okay, so this is how you can identify different parts of your PDF very easily. And I just want to quickly show you, if you were to change the position of the image, okay, this number will now be figure 2 automatically. Okay, figure 2. And when you click on figure 2, it will move to the figure, the location of the figure. So we'll wait until about 3:35. Hopefully, everyone can get the upload of the picture done by that time. So after this session is over, you can actually go back and download the original template that was provided for this session. You can generate the PDF, and that's actually the instruction over there. Because I think by the time you finish this hands-on session, the template that you have will be very messed up because of all the hands-on that you'll be doing. So you can just go and download the template again if you want the original instructions, because everything is actually written there. Okay, everything is written there and you can follow it easily. Okay, so for now, just do whatever you want to this template and you can download the other template later on. Wait another 2 minutes and we will proceed. Okay, I'm going to show you very quickly how I suggest you can create your images, okay, and the difference between the images when you actually generate your PDF, okay. So very quickly, I created something similar, okay. I'm going to show you right here. So you can see this image over here, when I zoom in, okay, is very low resolution, okay. This is a JPEG. And normally, after you create an image such as this, you might want to just save as picture, and then when you save it, it becomes your JPEG or PNG that you want to upload. But instead, I recommend you do this, okay? After you have grouped the image, for example, you check the size. Let's say it's 6.5 and 22, okay? What you do is that 6.5 to be 22 cm and 6.5. Sorry. Okay, so you can now fit your image nicely within the slide, okay? Let's fit this nicely within the slide. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to save it as a PDF. Okay, let's say we save it as a PDF. Let's call this block cipher, okay? Now I have created a PDF which fits the image just nicely, okay? Now I'm going to upload this PDF into the Overleaf, okay? So rather than using blockcipher.jpg, I'm going to use blockcipher.pdf as my image, okay? Let's try this out. Block. Okay, so when we do this, we have the new image, but now it's a PDF, okay? I know the font is smaller, but I want you to check this out. The moment I zoom in, it doesn't matter how much I zoom in, the resolution is still crystal clear, okay? So that's why I recommend that you use JPEGs as your figures, okay? JPEGs as your figures, and you will not lose any resolution. High quality figures is actually very important, and usually when I review journal papers, I will also emphasize that the figures should be clear, especially for a high quality publication. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is something very common, especially when you're in the computer science space, is how you create algorithms. Okay, how you create your pseudocodes to be inserted into a paper and how you can format it nicely. So luckily, we are going to use, well, there are packages out there that you can use, but the two that I'm going to recommend over here, you need both in order to format the equation to look like this, okay? This is a random pseudocode, okay? You need to use the ELK pseudocode and algorithm packages, okay? So if you look up there, I've already included here, pseudocode and algorithm. So you can actually put a comma. It's still the same, okay? It doesn't matter. But basically, you need both of these. Okay, so how do we create the algorithm? Very simple. Let me just go here, double click. Okay, this is the command for the algorithm. So it might seem very complicated, but it's actually quite simple. Okay, so when you have begin algorithm and end algorithm, this is where this is the command you have to use. And inside, you have centering, which means you're going to center the entire algorithm box over here in the middle. And here is where you're going to use algorithmic. And algorithmic provides all the commands for the different statements. Okay, by using algorithmic, you do not need to worry about indentation, because if you use /if, you use /else if, or you /and if, for, and for, all of the indentation will be done for you automatically, and it will look very nice. Okay, so you can use this as actually a guide. Okay, so for every regular sentence or every regular line, you see all the lines over here, every regular line, you're going to use the word state. Okay, so you're going to, for example, add a new state. Here is a new line, and if you compile, it will be on top here. See, here's a new line. Okay, and if you want to create a new function, okay, a new function, so all you need to do is you can type slash procedure. So okay, so for example, this would be the first word here is the function name, okay, and the second box here is going to be variable. Okay, okay, so when you create a procedure, okay, you also have to end the procedure. Okay, so in between, you will have maybe a state. This is what you do. So if you have a procedure, remember you have to end the procedure. Okay, so procedure, function name, this is what you do inside, and it's the end procedure. Okay. Similarly, if you have an if, okay, example if this or that, you will also then do this, must have an and if. Okay. So every time you create a new procedure, you must end the procedure. You create a new if, you have to end the if. Okay. So just make sure you do not make errors. Okay. So it doesn't matter how many spaces you leave in between or whether you indent. Okay. The formatting is based on all of these lines. Okay. The formatting is based on all of these lines. So I have actually provided some very key commands over here already for you. So the ones to take note would be, of course, procedure and procedure, if and if, state. And over here we have else if, we have else, okay. We have for loop, it's how to write the for loop, how to end the for loop, and so on, okay. So right now, let's take some time to create a new procedure within this algorithm, or better yet, let's create a new algorithm, okay? But before that, let me show you the bottom here. This is the caption for the algorithm. Over here, I call it the nonsensical summation algorithm, okay? And again, we can have the label. So we can refer to this algorithm anywhere within our text, okay? So let us try to create a very simple algorithm, okay? So just copy the whole thing and delete every single procedure inside. Okay, so let's start with a blank algorithm. Let's call this my simple algorithm, and this is called simple algo. Okay, I give it a new label called simple algo. Okay, inside here, let's start by creating maybe a procedure. And we have maybe name and where. Okay, we have n c. Okay, and inside here, that's called state. Let's put in the x plus equals to y plus z, like that. Okay. And here you have created the new algorithm called my simple algorithm with the procedure called name and the variable x plus y and procedure. Okay. And you can experiment by having if, for example, x is bigger than y, then do nothing. Else, if x is smaller than y, do something. Else, do everything. Okay, something like that. And remember, and if. When you do that, you will have created all of your if statements nicely like this. Okay. Yeah, make sure you wrap it all in $sign for the equations. Okay, so I'm going to give you maybe takes a little bit more time here. I'll give you about 5 to 10 minutes to try to write a very simple algorithm and then refer to it in the text. So my new algorithm is at algorithm reference elbow, zipper elbow. Okay, so when you have this, you can look at the sentence over here. My new algorithm is at algorithm 1. Okay, so if you were to reposition this algorithm below this one, okay, then it will become algorithm 2. Okay, everything's done dynamically. Okay, dynamically. So I'll give you 10 minutes until 3:55 to write a very simple pseudocode. Okay, a very simple pseudocode. So we will continue in 5 minutes. But if anyone has any problem with creating the algorithm, please do not hesitate to ask a question. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, which is creating tables. Okay, so tables, there are many ways to create tables, and some are more complex than others, but this is the most basic table I can share with you, and probably the most commonly used table as well. Okay, so over here you can see the instructions that to add more columns is over here. Okay, I will show you in a bit. But basically, you start with a begin table. You will end with an end table. Over here, you can see a square bracket with H, T, and exclamation mark. This just enforces generally where the table will be placed. This HT can also be used for the algorithm. It can also use for the figure. So H just means that you tell the compiler to try to put the table here, right below this paragraph. But sometimes if it can't, it will put it to another page. T means that you're telling the compiler to try to put it at the top of the page, okay, at the top of the column, okay. But if you put here and top, in this case, it will be placed over here, okay, because it's directly below this paragraph and it's as high as it can go to be below this paragraph, okay. So if I were to remove here, you can see the table is placed in a different position. So usually I will put H and T to make sure that it is directly where I want it to be. Okay, this is an additional tip over here. Now let's take a look at how the table is actually formatted. So first we have centering. This is very common for every single figure algorithm that we have used so far, or we have created so far. We have used centering. Okay, and here begin tabular. Okay, this is where you will specify all of your columns. Okay, every letter in here represents a different column. Okay, actually showing you here 3 types of columns that you can create. First is C, which will place the contents of this column in the center. You have L, which places the contents to the left of the column. I believe P will also place it to the left of the column, but P allows you to specify the width of the column. Okay. If you use C or L, the column size will be adjusted automatically. Okay. But if you use P, you can specify the column width. Okay. And right now you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, okay? And this corresponds to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, okay? And you can see that active S boxes, okay, this column, you know what this means. We have the column width to be very large, okay, because it's 2 centimeters. If I were to put, let's say, C, it will actually adjust nicely, okay? Let's say if I put this S boxes, it will adjust the column nicely, okay, and place it in the center. If I put it as L, then it will place to the left. Okay, you can see it places it to the left. And if I were to use P with 2 centimeters, it will still create the entire 2 centimeter space as shown over here. Okay. So for simplicity's sake, let's just use all C's. I think so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 columns. If you want more columns, you can just simply add more C's. And if you want to add lines between the columns, you just have to add this line. Okay, I cannot show you on the keyboard, but basically it's this backslash. Okay, click Shift backslash, you will get this vertical line. So if you do it like this, you will actually add the vertical lines in between all of the columns. Okay, the horizontal lines between the columns is placed by using /h_line. Okay, so right now I put /h_line, our header /h_line. So this corresponds to the horizontal line, the header horizontal line, and then I put another horizontal line at the end of the table. It's over here. But again, I could just put horizontal lines through every single row, okay, and it will look like this. Okay, it's up to you, but I prefer it to be clean, and in some Springer journals, they actually just go with very minimal lines between the columns and the rows. Okay, I always like it to be like this. It looks more professional and clean. Okay, All right, so usually, so how do you create, how do you insert data into the tables, okay? So let's say if you have 5 columns. So each column, you will separate by using the ampersand symbol, or the and sign, okay? The ampersand sign. So you can add whatever you want inside, and then you put the ampersand sign, that's where you divide the different columns, okay? And you can actually, so if you have 5 columns, then you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so in between, you separate the 5 columns using the ampersand sign. Okay, and if you want to move to the next row, you have to put this double slash. Double slash just means move to the next row. Okay, so let's say if you put another column, okay, you put another column, that means you have to add less percent here and say new column. Okay, so when you click save, you compile it, you create your new column. So now it's the same for every other line. You have all your data, and it doesn't matter how much space you have in between. It will always just fit nicely. Okay, it will just fit nicely. If you really want to add spaces, then you have to use the tilde. Okay, then you have to use the tilde symbol. Okay. Now you can see that this new column here is empty. So let's put in some data. Okay, you can even put a symbol inside. You can even put a equation inside. Okay, you can whatever you want inside. Okay, and then save. Basically, have your new column. Okay, so I'm going to give you maybe a few minutes. Okay, to try to add a new column to this table. Okay, I want everyone to try. Just add a new column. So how do you do it? First, in the begin tabular, add a C, an L, or a P. Okay, that means you add another column, and then all you have to do is to put the N, and then add your new column name, and then add the data. You can also try to add the lines in between. You can also try to add the lines here. And when you compile, this is how you manipulate your table. Okay. Again, same like last time. Probably don't have to repeat this. You can change your caption. Okay. What? Okay, and then you can also add a label so that you can reference the table anywhere in your text. Okay. So when you use LaTeX and you're using a template provided by the journal, you don't have to worry about formatting the table, caption, and so on. Okay, it will be done based on the class file for this particular journal. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, yes, why is the table caption below the table? Okay, so this is just the format for this particular. So when you download the template, okay, usually there is a table for you to follow, okay? So you just follow whatever is given there. So if the journal wants the caption to be at the bottom, usually the example table they give will have the caption at the bottom. If the caption is to be on top, then maybe they will arrange it in a different way, okay? But basically, when you download a particular template, you just follow whatever is given to you in their example to make sure that you fit to their specification, okay? So you can actually put the caption on top, you can put the caption below as well. Okay, somebody has asked about multi-row. Okay, that is something that I probably will not cover here because it's quite complex. Okay, but later on, if you want to use multiple row, there are many other resources out there for you to copy a template and use multi-row. Okay, so you probably need to download a new, you need to import a package to use multi-row. Okay, so in a bit, I will show you how to search for on all of these resources, because there's just way too many functionalities that you can import and use. Okay, so let me just say, okay, and usually, okay, when you go and search online, you will have a lot of people providing you with the templates, okay, and you can just use it. And use multi-row too, like this. This just means that this row will have two rows, okay? Okay, so let us proceed to the last part, okay? Before I go to some other tips, okay? For referencing and citation. Okay, now this is where we are going to use JabRef. But before that, I'm going to show you how you create your reference and your citations, okay? So over here, you can see in the PDF, you can cite, okay? You can also create multiple citations. And how you cite is just by using the /cite command, okay? And what is inside here is what we call the citation key. So where do we get the citation key? So when you create a .bib file, okay, you can specify the citation key for every single reference. And then all you need to do is to just use the key. So you can actually create a library of references that is stored in the same bib file, and you can use that same bib file in all your articles, because if you don't cite the key, it will not appear in the list of references, okay? So I would suggest you keep a central repository of all your references in a bib file, and you can just take that same bib file and upload into every single one of your LaTeX projects or your thesis, and you just have to use the keys. Okay, so before that, I'm going to show you /cite is to cite, and you put the key inside, and then you will have your citation over here. If you put multiple citations in a row with a comma, it will automatically propagate for you as well. So in the IEEE format, there's a comma between the multiple citations. But for example, if you use a different template, a different class file, a different citation file, it could be a dash, okay, and so on. So you have how to create the bib file, okay? I'm going to show you how to create the bib file, how you import the bib file into this LaTeX project, and how you use that bib file, okay? So now I assume that everyone has installed JabRef. So let us try out together. So first, I want you to create anywhere in your folder, let's say new file called references. Important here, the extension must be .bib, okay? And if you have already installed JabRef, it will automatically create the or be opened by the JabRef, okay? So if I opened this bib file, okay, so if I open this bib file, and now I can look at the JabRef GUI. So this is the latest version of JabRef, okay? So I'm just going to give you a simple tip on and why I would like to use JabRef over other ones. It's through the importing using DOI, okay? So let's say the one common way is that you can create a new article, okay? And then you enter the author name, the title, the journal, the year, the key. So this is going to take a long time if you have many articles, okay? But instead, what are we going to do? We're going to import using DOI. So let's take a look at a paper. Let's just go, for example, this paper over here. Okay, so every paper will have its own DOI, for example. Okay, so all you need to do is you copy the DOI. Okay, you copy the DOI, you go into JabRef, you click on this symbol over here, new entry. And how you import the new entry? At the bottom here, there is something called DOI, okay? In fact, there are many ways to import. So you can even import preprints from archive. You just have to put the ID. I'll show you in a bit. You can import from using DOI, ISBN if it's a textbook, and so on. So let's say we go for DOI, we paste the DOI and click generate. And so when we generate, it will just propagate everything and everything is ready, okay? And what is the citation key for this article, okay? Citation key is going to be at the bottom here. So example, TEH 2020. You can put any key you want. I see some students, for every different article, they put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't suggest that. I suggest you put the author's last name and the year. In case the same author has multiple publications, you can put author name year A, author name year B, author name year C, and so on, okay? Let's try to import several more articles. Let's try an archive paper. Let's try, okay, this paper here. If I wanted to import an archive paper, I will just use these numbers over here. Okay, see, this is the ID of this archive paper. I click on this one, I choose archive, I paste the archive number, and poof, we have the archive paper. Okay, so we can use the citation key. Also, if you are in cryptography, you have the IRCR eprints. Okay. For example, we can take the ID here. We can also import it using here. Okay. So now we have 3 different articles. And let's try a textbook. Let's try this textbook here, okay? Let's try a textbook, and we want to import this textbook by using the ISBN. Okay, we use the ISBN. We import textbook, ISBN. Okay, so now we have papers and a textbook. Okay, let's see. Okay, in this case, it didn't seem to import correctly. Maybe because of, okay, we can use the DOI instead. Okay, let's use the DOI. Okay, let's use the DOI for this. Okay, right. So now we have our references.bib. Okay, so now what do we do with this? Okay, we are going to upload this bib file into our LaTeX project. So let's say this is our LaTeX project. We click upload. We are going to drag the references.bib into our LaTeX project. Okay, so right now this LaTeX project is using this bib file. If you go to the bottom of your page, you will see that here we have bibliography style IEEE trend. So usually when you download a template, they will tell you which bibliography style to use. Sometimes it's already given to you over here. This is the IEEE transaction bibliography style. So you just need to change this here. Okay, now it's using IEEE.bib, which is another bibliography repository. Okay, this is an example I've given earlier. And you can change this into your new one, references.bib. Okay, and so all the previous references earlier will be wrong because now there's no such thing as this reference inside, for example. See, it will now become question marks. Okay, so now what do we do? Now we know that we have these 4 papers inside, okay? So let's say I want to cite the first paper. I will just take the citation key. I put it here, okay? If I want to cite the second paper, I use this citation key. I put it here. If I want to cite this third paper, I put the citation key. I put it here, okay? And let's say I want to cite the last paper. This book here, okay? I click the citation key and I click here. So when I click save, when I compile, the citations will be propagated nicely and arranged at the bottom. based on the format that is given. Okay, so now I want all of you to try. Create, okay, the steps are like this. Create your empty bib file. So just create a text file. You can rename it into whatever .bib. Import 1 or 2 papers using the DOI. Upload your bib file into your project. Make sure your bib file is selected, and then try to cite somewhere in your article. Okay, I will give you about 5 minutes to try. Okay. Okay, I have a question from somebody asking me what's the advantage of JabRef over Mendeley. Okay, so if you're already familiar with using Mendeley, then by all means use Mendeley. Okay, so I recommend JabRef, especially for students which do not use any other way of managing their references. Okay, so if you're already familiar with Mendeley, go ahead and use it. But to me, JabRef is just a lot more simple for the main purpose of just dealing with references. Okay, so if you are already using Mendeley to keep track of all your documents, linking with Overleaf, etc., go ahead. Okay. Yeah. So if you are not using Mendeley and you are just starting off with using Overleaf or LaTeX, then I would still recommend using JabRef, because the main focus of JabRef is only for referencing management. Okay, no other features, so it's a lot more scaled down. Okay, so Okay, last point here. We're actually towards the end of our session. I believe I've covered how to read the LaTeX document, how to insert figures, algorithms, tables, citation, highlights, and so on. Okay, so just a few final tips here. Again, this session is not encompassing every single command that you can use. There are a lot of things that you can format using LaTeX. You could have sideways figures, you can have sub-figures, you can have sideways tables, and so on, okay? But the good thing here is that LaTeX is a very strong community around it. You can easily find whatever you want by just Googling, literally. So for example, you want to find out how to put a sideways table into LaTeX. Just have to type sideways table LaTeX, and you will have examples coming from you immediately. Okay, and so they will always suggest, for example, a package, and then they'll give you an example, minimal working example that you can just copy and paste into your LaTeX template. Okay, so now you know how to insert the package. So using other packages, other commands is something that you will pick up as you use LaTeX more and more, okay? And good sources for all these LaTeX commands and discussions usually comes from the Text Stack Exchange, okay? So also, many LaTeX templates you download from journals, okay? There are instructions. The instructions for the LaTeX template is actually inside the template, okay? So exactly like how the original template you downloaded for this session, all the instructions are actually inside, okay? All the instructions are actually inside the template. Let me just go very quickly to an untouched version of the template. It's this one. So if you didn't touch the original template without modifications, the instructions are actually there, okay? All the instructions that I have talked about is all in the original template, okay? Everything's over here. Okay, last but not least, I would like to recommend the use of Grammarly, okay? So there is actually a plugin for Grammarly with Overleaf that is not too straightforward. I'm going to show it to you. But generally, for those students who are not yet using Grammarly, it is a free service. You can download the API for your Microsoft Word file, and it will help you to pick out spelling and grammatical errors. So I'm recommending this to my students to use so that by the time they send me their draft, at least some of these simple errors are found. Okay. So I'm going to show you very quickly how the Overleaf integration with Grammarly actually works. And it is a little bit it is actually somebody else's open source code. So it's not 100% user friendly, but it's good enough, okay? So after you, for example, after you install Grammarly's plugin, you have to install something called the Overleaf text area. I'm just going to show you. When I activate Overleaf text area, okay, you can see that Grammarly is actually not working on this text editor space, okay? But it will work on this new text editor space over here that I can easily use Grammarly here. And the moment I use it here, for example, then if I change here, it will automatically reflect on this side, okay? In terms of spelling here, okay, and so on, okay? So if you are curious to explore the use of this plugin, it's called the Overleaf text area. It's written here, okay? But if not, you can always just write everything in. After you finish writing, you copy this into Microsoft Word, then you can correct your errors and you paste it back, okay? All right. I think one last thing here. Usually for sections, you have section numbers, okay? But if you want to remove the section numbers, all you need to do is to add a star. So over here, we have /section, okay? And here we have /section star. When you have star, you will remove the section number, okay? For example, if I remove this star, you will see acknowledgement with a section number. If I put in the star, you will see acknowledgement with no section number. Okay. So I think that is the end of our quick start session. I apologize for all the hiccups in the beginning of the session. I hope that it has been useful, especially for those who want to venture into using LaTeX. Okay, and for those familiar with LaTeX, I hope that maybe there are certain things that are new to you that you have picked up from here. And I've also learned from some of you regarding some of the things I couldn't solve previously, like highlighting of the citations and so on. Okay, so before you leave this session, I would like to invite everyone to fill out the feedback form so that in the future sessions I can improve my delivery. Okay. Oh, right, I forgot. Last point. Thank you for reminding me. How do we save it in PDF format? Okay, so after you have finished compiling, okay, you have your document, you are happy with your document, okay, you just have to click download PDF. Okay, download PDF and save it wherever you want. Okay, so the button is over here. So remember, LaTeX is not used to save back into Word format, okay? LaTeX is used to create the final PDF that you will submit to the journal. You skip entirely the use of Word, okay? You skip entirely the use of Microsoft Word. Unless you're only using Microsoft Word to correct your spelling or grammatical errors using external tools like Quillbot or Grammarly, okay?